Hey there, comic collectors. As always, I'm Scott Harris King, and today we're back with the next part of the complete Usagi Yojimbo saga. Your favorite series of videos ever made by anyone. Yes, so today we're going to be finishing off the Dark Horse run. Now, just to catch you up, if you've missed any of the previous ones, they're all available on my channel. I'm showing the complete run of Usagi Yojimbo starting in 1984 with Albedo number 2. I already showed Albedo's 2 through 4. I showed the Critters 1 through 50 run, and a couple other sundry things. And then we did videos where we covered all 38 issues of the Volume 1 Fantagraphics run, all 16 issues of the Volume 2 run from Mirage. And then we've had a series of videos where we covered the first 150 issues of Volume 3, which is the Dark Horse run. So, we finished with issue 150 last time, but there's a little bit left of the Dark Horse run because that runs for another 22 issues before he switches, leaves for IDW, and has Volume 4. Now, that's going to be next time. Next video, I'll be covering the entire 32-issue IDW Volume 4 run. But today, we're going to finish off the Dark Horse run. As I'd mentioned last time, this was shortly after I started collecting my first new issue of the series. He had taken a 3-year break in between 144 and 145. So in that break is when I put the run together. So my first new issue of the series was Dark Horse 145, which was a little bit after the series, overall series numbering number 200. So there's going to be a lot of stuff in this video about numbering, particularly when we get to the end. It's going to get super confusing, but I'm going to walk you all through it. So let's start with 151 just to catch you up to date. What Dark Horse is doing at this point is we got this great frame cover here. Separates all of the stuff on the cover from the image, so you don't have to worry about any kind of clutter. We've got the classic Usagi Yojimbo logo, which he's had right from the first issue back in 1986. Although back then it didn't have the Japanese translation next to it. Here you can see we now have a Dark Horse 30th anniversary logo. That's 30 years of the company. And then over here, they've started putting Stan's name on it, and then the name of the story. So as you can see, this issue is a standalone issue, as several of these in a row have been. But that's going to change here in a little bit. 152, The River Rising. I love it when he does rain covers because they always look so cool. $153. Some turtles, not the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, although of course they have appeared multiple times in the series. These are just not regular turtles either. These are magic turtles, and they can be a big problem. But they have this hollow thing in the top of their head with water in it, and if you can get them to spill the water, you can control them. I only know this from reading the series. 154, we get the Bat Ninjas, who have been a constant in the series for decades. This one's called Kazahime. 155. Okay. This is the first part of a 3-parter. It's The Secret of the Hell Screen. Now, this is the Inspector. I mentioned him last time because he is just in a storyline 10 issues before this. But here he is again. You can tell him from, if you need any other signifiers, from his weapon, which is a sword breaker. So basically that little notch there, if someone swings the sword, he can catch the blade in that notch, and then he can snap the blade with a quick twist of his wrist, or if it doesn't break the blade, it can still disarm the enemy. So it's a defensive weapon, but he puts it to real good use. He's a police inspector who works for the emperor or the governor or the warlord, whoever the local people are. But anyway, he's part of the government, and he investigates murder mysteries. And a lot of times it becomes politically complicated because it turns out that the people ordering the murders or whatever are the nobles. Here's issue 2 of 3, part 2 of 3, 156. His covers are so detailed and so lush. I just love them. 157, we get another classic weapons coming into this onto the panel from so we're looking at Usagi and there's a weapon, but this time instead of a sword, it's these hooks, like he's facing Wolverine. No spoilers, he's not facing Wolverine. So 157. We get another standalone, some great colors on this, super bright. Again, Tom Luth is on the covers. 158. I love how the orange background sets off against the Usagi, the blue and the white of Usagi's symbol. And also is a nice contrast to the colors up here. One thing that's interesting here, real subtle, but I love it, is the line art from that actually goes up behind the frame, but it's colored in. So you can see those stalks, the plants, you can see them going up into the background up there. I think that's super cool. One thing I want to mention on some of the backgrounds now, previously it had been Stan doing character sketches and things like that. He started having other people do character sketches. So here's another artist, I don't know who it is. The credits are on the inside. And so the back covers are always cool to look at here. You also may notice that for whatever reason, I never got around to bagging like 10 of these in a row. I don't know why. 159. This is again a standalone story. 160. And we're back with the Inspector again. More murder mysteries. And the Inspector is going to be in a lot of the series. We'll notice that happens from time to time, where we'll get a character and whoever we haven't seen for quite a while, and suddenly they'll be in a whole bunch of stories in a row. And part of the reason is because of how detailed Stan Sakai's storytelling is. I mentioned this in a previous video, a couple videos ago. But he's actually mapped out, like literally on a map, where Usagi Yojimbo is going, how long it takes. If you read the stories, you can tell the changing of the seasons. And as he's moving along, time is passing. And so in this batch of stories, he's gotten back to whatever part of Japan the Inspector is stationed in. And so now he's in that region. And so there's a bunch of stories with the Inspector. Whereas, back when we were in issues like 100 through like 115, Gen and the dog bounty hunter, they were in a whole bunch of stories in a row back then because he was in the part of Japan where those characters are based, right? So we get a lot of the Inspector, and we get, first of all, we get this solo thing called Death by Fugu. And you can see there's a puffer fish on a thing up there. I think that might be a fugu. I think it might have something to do with how the fish is cooked, determines with how poisonous it is. 161, another murder mystery, The Body in the Library, part 1 of 2. And having the Inspector around does allow Stan to tell different kinds of stories, because now we're doing murder mysteries. He's got one guy whose name I'm blanking on, who appears from time to time, who's a demon hunter. So whenever he's around, it's all supernatural things with magic elements and a lot of mythology. But when the Inspector's around, it's a lot of detective stories. So that's another great thing about the series, is the different types of stories he tells within the framework. Here's part 2, The Body in the Library, part 2. And it's just a classic detective cover, only in this universe, which is great. 163, this is part 1 of 3, The Mousetrap. Really cool cover with the birds flying behind him. 164, this is part 2. And I should say that the Inspector's in this one as well. So these are all mystery stories, and this one involves ninjas. Here's 165. The Inspector's back with his 16th century flashlight to investigate the mystery, which allows for some really cool lighting effects. Okay, 166 doesn't have 166 on the cover, so I'll get into this a little bit more later. But with this is the last story in the Dark Horse run, and they've decided to drop the numbering. Now, for a while, as we've been talking about, they've been showing this for every story. They have the name of the story and the part 1 of 3, part 2 of 3, and so they're trying to basically, again, get the new readers to know immediately that, oh, you don't need to know the backstory from the first 200 issues. You could just pick it up. And so they've decided to start doing that, where they're kind of labeling each issue as, or each story as like a mini series, right? So this says Usagi Yojimbo the Hidden, and the numbering, it says 1 of 7. So instead of saying 166, it says 1 of 7. Now, I'm old school. I want the number on the cover. So I don't like this. Anything, if it helps sell more, then I'm fine with it, of course. But I'm skeptical that it does. In fact, I don't think it matters. In fact, I'd go so far as to say it matters more to people like me who want the original number than it matters to new people. But whatever the case, 1 of 7. And let me show you these, and I'll tell you about the story as we go. The Hidden, 2 of 7. And what this story is about, you can see a little bit here. There's a statue. What this story is about Christianity being spread in Japan. And there's a crackdown on it. And so the Christians are going underground. And so there's basically a Bible in the story that people are trying to get because the government's trying to destroy it. And then Christians are trying to save it so they can pass along the religion secretly underground. And caught up, there's murder mysteries, there's all sorts of stuff going on. And Usagi's helping the investigator here try and sort through all this stuff. Part 4. It's a really cool story, really interesting. I love the historical aspects of it. The Hidden refers to the religion itself, but also the Bible and other specific elements that they're trying to hide from being captured and destroyed. 5 of 7. Another cool cover. They're very similar. I wouldn't mind a little more variation, but they're still really cool. 6 of 7. This is a really cool cover. Again, the nighttime lighting effects, really cool. They're all out for Usagi. And then finally, last issue of the Dark Horse run, The Hidden 7 of 7. Everyone comes together. Fear fire foes. I'll show you the back cover. It's got the inspector on it with his sword catcher. And what we discover at the end of the story is that the inspector himself is a Christian, and he's the one that has been trying to hide this religious stuff. So, final note. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the numbering because I mentioned it. I said it was going to be a little confusing. So we have this 7 of 7. But if you look on the inside, what it actually says is Usagi, I'm looking at the indicia, right? Usagi Yojimbo, The Hidden, number 7, October 2018. Volume 3, number 172. So it does have the Dark Horse numbering on the inside, but then it continues and it says number 238 in a series. So this has 3 different numbers. Just use 7 of The Hidden, just use 172 of the Dark Horse run, and it's issue 238 of Usagi Yojimbo. That does start to get a little confusing if you're one of the few people in the world who bothers to read the indicia. Again, I'm all for whatever they want to do to try and boost sales and get out more issues and get more money to Stan. That's all great. I just don't think, I'm very skeptical that this moves the needle at all. and does anything other than just mildly irritate the tiny amount of people that care at all about the numbering, which happens to include me. I would rather they just put the 172 on the cover. Even better if no matter what publisher they're at, they just have the number for the series on it. And spoilers, skipping way ahead, in volume 5, the new series, that's kind of what they're doing, because now it's got the mini-series stuff on it, and instead of this, it just has it'll have like part 1 of 3 or part 2 of 3, and then on the cover in parentheses it says UY Usagi Yojimbo and the overall series number. So they're up to 272 at the present time. So that's kind of what they're doing now. But it also, I've mentioned this in a previous video where I showed that, it seems a little weird to me. If you're going to put on the cover UY 272 in little in parentheses, why not just have the 272 as the issue number? I mean, you've already got Usagi Yojimbo as the logo, so we already know that it's, what UI stands for. Just put the 272 on the cover, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But either way, that was the end of this run. And then in 2018, this ended. There was another bit of a break. Went over to IDW for color. So next time around, we're going to show you the whole IDW run, 32 issues in full color. And then when that series ended, there was another year-long break that he took to do other stuff. And the new Dark Horse Volume 5 has just started. There's only 2 issues out, which I've already shown in a haul video when I got them from my LCS. So we won't be doing a video for that. But next time, we're going to wrap up the look at the complete run of Usagi Yojimbo as we cover all of the IDW run. So join me for that. Let me know what you think down below. Maybe it's just old man yelling at cloud when it comes to numbering. It doesn't really matter. But, it would be nice if it just had the number. Let me know what you think. I'll see you next time.